Felicity. Absent
I
for
recognize that. What's it for?
what's
Got to
it for?
ask of everything. What is it for? Right?
What is it for?
It's for Felicity.
Uh, that's hilarious. All right. I think we're cool. I think they're being heard everywhere we go. And the problem that I'm concerned about is that this other computer that I'm on has been like shutting itself off. But it's okay because I can just come right over to this other mic and use it. So
Very
we're
good.
all doing okay. Well, cool. So yeah, we are reading Absence from Felicity, the story of Helen Schuckman and her scribing of A Course in Miracles. And of course, I think this is published by the Foundation for Inner Peace. I'm not sure. Um,
Um, I don't.
Pretty sure.
Well, I think they've certainly contributed
Let's
to
see.
the letting it be known. Let me look at the copyright in the print
Oh,
version.
oh,
Foundation for A Course in Miracles. Yeah, so that's what I thought.
okay.
It's the sister organization.
Awesome.
Since
Yeah.
since it was Ken's writing in
Yeah.
his book, yeah, makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only other books that the only one that was published there besides Ken's book was the one that oh gosh, what's his name? The psychologist. It's a book called The Psychology of A Course in Miracles. And
Oh, I
um
think I know which one you mean.
yeah,
I which I probably only because I
he,
haven't read
he
it, but
passed away some time ago, but
yeah.
uh, anyway, here we are.
Meanwhile,
Well,
yeah,
that's
I
okay.
have us on about the middle of page 195,
Yep, and
which
I
is
wherever I have the bookmark. So
yeah.
so do you want to read? Oh,
Sure,
okay.
sure. We're reading in chapter 7, which is the beginning of A Course in Miracles, 1965, is the title of that chapter. And in the middle of page 195, Ken resumes his commentary, um, and he's talking about uh, some writing that Helen did about someone she knew named Dave. I was still reflecting on last week, where she's telling Dave to stop doing certain things, and I think I was reflecting on the HAL 9000 computer being deactivated, and trying to tell the human that was deactivating him in that movie, uh, please, Dave, stop, Dave. Which Dave Bowman was the, the remaining crew member. But that's kind of what we're doing to the ego. We're basically we've got our spacesuit on, and we're looking at the absurdity of the space that we've made, and deactivating the ego's thought system one little module at a time until it finally is a benign nothing that that it always was until we started adding malware to it basically. But anyway, meanwhile, back at the ranch, uh, so that's the context of what Ken's about to talk about, is this conversation with one of Helen's associates, or someone she knew named Dave. Anyway, Ken says, this important entry expresses 4 themes that form the heart of the teachings of A Course in Miracles that were about to come forth. One is joining with another. And then in quotes, come on, Dave, join us and we can all go marching together, unquote. Helen's exhorting Dave to join with Harry, a joining that reflects the meaning of forgiveness. 2, joining with Jesus. Helen's asking Dave to let Christ, in parentheses, Jesus, help him. Quote, if any two come together in my name, unquote. Pleading later with Dave, Helen wrote, quote, your spirit and mine can unite, and then the two of us have come together in Christ's name, unquote. Sounds very course-like. And 3, the role of the miracle, in quotes, quote, miracles are the natural law, unquote. Interestingly enough, this was written 2 days before the dictation of the miracle principles began. See especially number 6, quote, miracles are natural. When they do not occur, something has gone wrong, unquote. And that's in the first page of the text of the course. As in the early pages of the text, the miracle appears to be associated here with the body, as in Helen's asking Dave to live so that Harry can learn, quote, Harry needs a miracle to teach him that the brain is not the seat of life, but God is. He can learn this if you are willing to stay and teach him, unquote. Later in the course, however, Jesus makes it clear that miracles involve only a change in mind and that the body is not involved with sickness or healing. The teach text they teach like only a slight spoonerism, trip of the tongue. The text teaches, for example, and now he's quoting from text page 553 or in the earlier editions. So, and it's text 28 2 1 or excuse me 11 6 through 7. Okay, and this is from the text. The miracle is useless if you learn but that the body can be healed, for this is not the lesson that it was sent to teach. The lesson is in the mind that was sick, that thought the body could be sick, projecting out its guilt, caused nothing and had no effects. And that's from the text. Yeah. So there's again the emphasis on the mind, that's where real change is made, and particularly the decision maker that's choosing between the two thought systems. Should I read the fourth one, or we thought we covered a big chunk right there, or do you want to talk about that before we read the fourth one?
Yeah, let's just talk about that for a minute
Sure. I think there's
because
plenty to cover there.
yeah, so many people like right now, I think I'm having a problem that I might, have pneumonia or I have, some respiratory issues. Okay,
Sure.
does that, can I somehow or the other through spiritual means heal this body? And I think, it's pretty clear from this. The answer is absolutely no, because never the two shall meet. There's not a place where the body and the mind come together to uh, affect each other. Even though a lot of people think that you can affect the body with the mind, but I was just listening to something which you have posted on your ACIM blog. The script is written by Dr. Brent Haskell, and we have it read by Kelly Love. And he's saying, if you think that if it were possible that the mind, which is real, could affect the body, which is unreal, then that would mean that the body itself is real and that you're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that that it is possible, and that would be a pretty scary thing if you
Right.
think
Right.
about it. So the idea that the mind is capable of having an effect on the physical world is like I said, never the two shall meet. They don't connect with each other in that way.
Mm-hmm.
uh, but and that's what he says. The lesson is that the mind was sick, that thought the body could be sick, projecting out its guilt caused nothing and had no effects. So yeah, it's uh, I think that's something a lot of, even me, I will pray for you. I'll pray for you to feel better. I'll send you, good vibes so that you feel better. Trying to affect the illusion with the thinking mind, not to even say with the mind that God made. Uh, like I said, it would make it real. It would
Mm-hmm.
make the world real. It would make the body real. It would make the illusion not an illusion, but a reality. And if that were possible, then God would have no power. God would be, uh, which we think God is powerless in this world. We really do have this whole belief that as much as we might hope that the magic Santa God could do things, uh, he can't.
Yeah.
Because it,
Yeah.
it it doesn't recognize this. This is not his creation. This is our made up story. Anyway, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's all made up. I mean, that's the challenge of this wonderfully radical teaching we call A Course in Miracles was is it says that anything that involves subject and object or duality or comparisons or differences, which would include the entire depth, breadth, and length of space and time and any other dimensions we could throw at it, which would mean everything from quarks to quasars, from subatomic particles to galactic clusters to, and everything in between. All that is and certainly all of our bodies and the stories about our bodies and everything, both in the mental and physical realms as we imagine them, is really is made up. Or at best, it's a distortion or a misinterpretation of an intrinsic oneness that we have trained our minds to not recognize. And we went with the idea as a tiny mad idea experiment that we could, assume an identity that was separate from perfect oneness, and we don't even have any conscious memory of that, but we get echoes of that big bang in our mind every time we are upset by something that we see in the world, including our own bodies and including political figures that do do and say things we don't like, or kind of the cliches of someone cutting you off on the highway, or looking at you funny in the grocery store, or but every judgment that I have about anyone or anything really becomes an echo of that tiny mad idea, the big bang in my mind that said that separation was possible. And um, then there's the joining with another that we think is impossible. And on the level of form, it kind of is. I mean, you can get two atoms close to each other, but they don't really join. Well, in a sense, chemical reactions, but then they become something different. So it's like as long as there's a difference, the ego's dreaming mind thinks it's content that it pulled off this separation. But the whole premise of the course is, it's I'm not separation happened, but it's not my fault. So I can take the unconscious, unfounded guilt and project it out onto the world. The horror of an impossible dream of a big bang or a tiny mad idea in the mind, and think that I can, like Lady Macbeth, wash my hands of the blood of that crime. But fortunately, it's an impossible crime. So everything that we've ever experienced in this world is really a misinterpretation of a dream, and then we take that to be reality, and we have things that we call science and religion that attempt to reconcile and explain and try to make sense of what's basically a senseless, meaningless dream, and we wonder why we're so confused. But
Yeah, and yeah, go
well,
ahead.
that was plenty. Yeah.
This is indicating really a level confusion
Yes.
Helen's
Yes.
part, big
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
which is, I mean, something that we really, it's something that for us, a lesson for us too. She's
Oh, yeah.
she's saying to this guy, you have a purpose, and this purpose is this, and you could help out with this if you just stay here. And so she's thinking she knows what things are for, which is, well, one of the first lessons that we have. I don't know what anything is for.
Hmm.
And so she thinks she knows what things are for, and she thinks she knows how things should go, and she seems to have an idea of, this is, this could help with the bigger plan if you
Hmm.
just, don't give in to this sickness and stay alive. And so again, there's another place where, when we go around thinking that, oh, if only this would happen, then that would make everything so much better, or only this person would change their mind about things, then we wouldn't have this problem. Or we look at the world and we think all sorts of, we try to throw spiritual solutions at a problem that really, it there's no spiritual solution for it, because it's on a level that is can't be affected.
Hmm.
It's on the level, the level of illusion.
Right.
And you can't, all you can do is make more illusions. You can't make them not. you can't make what's happening real. You can only add illusion to illusion to illusion.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
what if Helen had the ability with her mind to heal this person? Uh, I'm thinking about like the Frankenstein, the whole story. I can make a person and they can be and do what I want them to be and do, and come to find out, no, I can't because I don't know what anything is for.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's what we're trying to make a Frankenstein world here, where the spirit can affect the illusion, and we're helped out a lot on this mistaken belief by things like the Bible, things that we read that quote Jesus did, miracles that Jesus performed. When you really look at it, all of those things that were miracles, quote unquote, that Jesus performed were really, again, an attempt or making it seem that somehow the God could come into the world and rearrange things or fix things or undo things. And so we miss the whole reason or the whole purpose of Jesus when we attribute all of these physical miracles to him,
Hmm.
because okay, so maybe he did do those things. I don't know, but wouldn't that be the same kind of level confusion? Him thinking, oh, not enough wine at the wedding. My mom wants me to turn this water into wine. Okay, I'll do that. Uh, people can look at that and wow, that if I get this kind of mind awareness, I'd be able to do that too. And that just puts you off of the reality that he didn't come here to change the world. He came, he came here to change your mind about the world, to show you that, the world that you see is not real, not to reinforce the reality of it by bringing God into it. So, it's again really uh, uh, Jesus corrects her very clearly throughout the course. But, at this point, when she's, pleading to Dave to stay alive, she's, actually misinterpreting or not understanding the reality of the situation. And we do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Hmm.
So, I'm always praying for things here.
Yeah, yeah, and the level of confusion is just so persistent because we made it up to be a constant reinforcement. We made up the world to be too much with us, and um, it's no wonder that that this is considered a challenging course because we that's how we designed it to be in our face all the time, and it's only when we our weight. Sometimes I think some of the more frequent moments when I think I'm sort of not quite fully enmeshed in the ego's dream is in the hypnagogic state, waking up from the nighttime dream to the daytime dream. But then I realize, oh, I'm noticing that I feel the bodily sensation of being, waking up in a bed, and the weight of my body, and then all the things going on with that. Whether I need to get up and use the bathroom or just different muscles or whatever. But all that is like it's basically saying, oh, this is my identity. It's an unchallenged shout that says this is real. This is your identity. And yet the course says, one of the most frequent phrases is, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. And so it takes a lot of practice to gently but persistently undo, not by shouting it down, but just by questioning the validity of that assumption that maybe our identity really is spirit, and we can choose to identify with spirit with the part of our mind where we uh, appeared to make the original decision against spirit by choosing the belief in duality, the belief in the ego, the belief in that thought system of separation. And then those first three things that three of the four themes that Ken is talking about, joining with another, joining with Jesus, and the role of the miracle, are all part of that process of forgiveness, of reconsidering the initial correctable error. It's not a sin, but it's a correctable error that of course says, you haven't sinned, but you've been much mistaken. And the much mistaken is the overlearning that we've done to believe that we could be identified with a dream figure that is just totally wackadoodle. That's silly, As Ken says, it's not evil, sinful, or wicked. It's just silly that we've identified with this separate thing, and essentially slavishly adhere to its mandates to be fearful, be upset, be depressed, be lonely, uncertain, all that stuff. Just it's a whole package that comes with that thought system, and we just need to keep looking at it gently, patiently, and see that it's insane, and eventually we will be ready to consider the real alternative.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really interesting. Helen's got the idea here.
Uh-huh.
She's clearly got the idea that things aren't what she thinks they are, and that, the body and the brain, which she mentions quite frequently in this little section, or this little letter, is all about, the how the spirit's influence on the body. Um, and she understands that there's a connection, but she hasn't quite, put two and two together and come up with five. So that's reference to a Ken Wapnick workshop. 2 + 2 = 5. That's really what we're looking at. It looks like logic. It looks
Mhm.
like, yeah, this makes sense, but the reality of it is there's a link that's missing there, and the link being that the spirit doesn't see the body. God doesn't see the body, is not involved in the world. So all the work that we do to try to bring about some sort of closure fixture in the world is not going to help. We're not going to bring about peace on earth by influencing the spirit of people around us. Peace on earth is here already, uh, but we don't see it because we're transfixed by this illusion. So, that's, the real world is right here and right now. And we could actually uh, uh, experience ourselves in the real world. But, right now we're confused by this body image, this physical image that we still think is what we are. So that's what takes the work. Not
Yep, yep.
understanding is one thing, but knowing is a completely different thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the real knowing with a capital K is their knowledge is above the line in Ken's chart, meaning that it's really beyond the scope of the course, and which is a good thing. Which it basically is saying when we really know what we are, not the who that we think we are, that we will have already passed the threshold of consistent peace, an unassailable inner calm that the course is aiming to deliver, and will, through the practice of forgiveness. And the form isn't important, and that's why it says, it's a required course. We're all going to do this because we're all going to weary of the idea of trying to make this dead horse of the ego's thought system perform, and it never has. And the more we notice that it never has, the more we will give up on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
want to pick up where we left off in the reading?
sure, sure. Okay, so number 4 is another a theme in this section, the power of the mind, here called spirit, over the brain. Okay, so Helen pleads with Dave to teach Harry that the spirit does not live in the brain. Turn your statement the right way and know that spirit, for example, the mind, can heal the brain, which it made. It is not the other way around. I mean, she's got it straight there, but just there's a little step that's missing. And then, quote, Dave, help Christ to reach your spirit and don't depend on your brain, unquote. After a discussion of Jesus' resurrection, Helen asked Dave to teach the whole Neurological Institute, who think life is a brain. I can imagine how that would go over. So,
Mhm.
once again, we can see that Helen was more than just a blank channel through whom Jesus dictated A Course in Miracles. In her own right, when identifying with her healed mind, she was the voice of wisdom. And yeah, as wise as you can be if you still believe there is a world.
Mhm.
As wise as you can be if you still believe that the body is something that's here, and that there is not only a way to do it, but there's a good reason to do it. There's no good reason. I can tell you that right now. There's no good reason for the mind to try to affect the body. Because when the mind is aware of its truth, when we're aware of our truth, then we don't experience ourselves as a body.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's where we want to go, is where the experience of the world, the physical world and the body is no longer uh, uh, are what we think we are.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So the following entries seem also to have been written on October 20th and reflect Jesus's attempts to help Helen and Bill. More specifically here, it is Jesus and Helen seeking to help Bill overcome his resistance to Jesus and so get closer to him. Okay, and so she says, if you do not get an answer, it is always because you are amiss. And that also is there's a if you it says in the course, if you don't hear the voice for God, it's because you're not listening. And I'm not exactly sure where it says that, but I know that it does. So you're just not listening if you don't hear it. If you do
Mhm.
not get an answer, it is always because you are amiss.
Right.
Okay, Helen.
I think that might be in the well, I certainly in Kim's commentary on the recent workbook lesson of God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Um, and Ken says, "Yeah, that's true, but we don't necessarily listen to it all through the day." There's the big variable, right? That's
Right.
the constant is that we have the inspiration always in our mind. The variable is that we only let through dribs and drabs. Another one of Ken's wonderful metaphors is Jesus is offering us the whole ocean, not the biblical Jesus, but the Course's Jesus is saying, hey, you've got this whole ocean available to you all the time, but you're only taking, a thimbleful at best, and then saying, okay, now I'm good. And we, admittedly, we would probably freak out if we got the whole ocean all of a sudden. So that's why the course really, in so many ways, suggests that the optimal return path is a gradual one, because only because, not that we can't do that in a split second if we wanted to, but we would be plunged deeper into fear if all the underpinnings of the ego were removed. Um, and of course, that would be our own doing, but we're not ready to do that. So, just a little at a time, seeing the absurdity and the forgivableness of the ego's projected dream, the world dream, and also the secret dream, which is the whole premise that we pulled off this impossible crime, and therefore the sin of that merits guilt, which merits the fear of punishment. And for how could we be punished for an impossible crime if it didn't happen? But that's where our sensory data comes in as the prime propaganda delivery mechanism for the ego. It just is it's 24/7. We get this report that says, "Yep, we pulled it off. The dream's real. Matter and space and time and bodies and separate selves seem to exist. The data is still pouring in that we pulled this off." and yet it's fixed. It's tampered. It's tampered by the ego because it's intrinsically neutral, and the course is training our minds to see the neutrality of the data that the ego is trying to distort and turn into an argument that guilt is not only possible but is accomplished, and therefore we should be afraid.
Be very afraid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's craziness.
Yeah, crazy. So yeah, so that it actually in this need not be in chapter 4, it says, if you cannot hear the voice for God, it is because you do not choose to listen.
Yep.
That you do listen to the voice of your ego is demonstrated by your attitudes, your feelings, and your behavior.
Hmm.
So Jesus just pointing out to us the error of our ways. Okay. The
Yeah.
error of our thinking, really. Okay.
Hmm.
So continuing with the reading. Helen, I said he promised, he with a capital H, he promised to come when he was called on. And Bill asks and does not recognize and has really tried to knock, and it has not been opened to him. I think the door is ajar. Yeah, I think the door is ajar a bit, but I really wouldn't call it very open. Is it all right if I ask for him, Bill, since he wants me to? And so yeah, she's asking, saying, know, can I be the intermediary or the intercessor for Bill because he wants me to ask you because he doesn't think that he can hear it himself. And so Ken says, this idea of Helen's asking help for Bill and others remained an important issue for her, and we shall return to it in part 3. The notes continue now with Jesus in the role of the first person. The principal focus remains on Bill. Okay, this is Helen. I can't answer where he, Bill, asks amiss. When he asks right, I have answered. He has a tendency to get part of an answer and decide himself when to disconnect. Gee, I don't know who else does that, but uh, he should ask more. Let's see, where am I at? Okay, he should ask if that's all. Since I don't know when he's going to ring off, I have to be very short and even cryptic. It chops messages up too much.
Yeah, once again, this is not just Helen and Bill's story. Initially, we are talking about Helen's story. Now that Bill's part of the scenario and the account here, it's we think it's initially it's like what happened with Helen and Bill, but no, it's what's happening with all of us 24/7. Still that message of just look at the resistance without condemnation, and because love doesn't condemn, it just merely looks and waits and judges not.
It looks and waits and judges not. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's that the simplest way to get out of any kind of fearful thought is just
Hmm.
look and wait and judge not.
Yeah.
Uh,
You're innocent.
yeah.
Get out of my courtroom. Go home. Be happy.
No more judgment. All right. So there is also interference from 3 major areas. One, he doesn't have much real confidence that I will get through. He never just claims his rights. He should begin with much more confidence. I'll keep my promises, but you, Helen, do not act as if you really expect him to. And then 2, he has to learn better concentration. His mind flits about too much for good communication. Suggest a very short phrase like, here I am, Lord, and don't think of anything else. Just pull in your mind slowly from everywhere else and center it on these words. This will also give him the realization that he, Bill, really is here. He's not too sure. This is all really interesting. Number
Hmm.
3, tell him to be sure not to mistake your, Helen's, role. If he overreacts to or over evaluates you as a person, both of you will be in danger. For example, free from their own guilt. Helen, he, Jesus, thinks it's time for some explanations, which we are probably ready for. There are always risks and speed ups. The whole thing was undertaken because things are getting behind schedule, because so many people persistently lost more than they gained. So this is real interesting, and there's a footnote to that. I'm going to let you read the footnote. I'm going to mute my mic and blow my nose.
Okay.
So you can read the footnote and then continue reading if you'd like.
Sure, sure. So the footnote, number 46 in the older print edition, uh, is in reference to suggest a very short phrase like, "Here I am, Lord, and don't think of anything else." So that and Ken's footnote for that one is, at another time, Jesus gave Bill a second phrase to help him focus his mind more on him, which is, quote, "Jesus, my brother, show me your love." That's really, really wonderful, isn't it? Jesus, my brother, show me your love.
I love that one. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
isn't that nice? And then 47 is this is let's see, maybe I'll just read this again. I think you might have already read it, but anyway, Helen, Jesus thinks it's time for some explanations, which we're probably ready for. There are always risks and speed ups. Yes, you did. Okay. The whole thing was undertaken because things are getting behind schedule because so many people persistently lost more than they gained. And then that's in the print version of footnote 47. Um, Ken says this later became part of the explanation that Helen was given Helen regarding the recent inner events. See below page 200. So I guess that's coming up in a few pages. The one thing that I'm noticing here is that the celestial speed up that oftentimes course refers to is really um, it's been misinterpreted to be about time, but it's really let me see. I'm going to search for celestial in the online edition because I don't think celestial speed up is there. Celestial, yeah, there's three places where the word celestial appears in the course, and the first one is in right at the beginning of the text, first chapter. Um, Miracle principle number 32. I inspire all miracles, which are really intercessions. They intercede for your holiness and make your perceptions holy. By placing you beyond the physical laws, they raise you into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, you are perfect. So I think it's so there's one example of the word celestial. The second one of the three is in chapter 25, section 1, paragraph 4, sentence 3. Um, I'm going to read the first few sentences in that paragraph. You are the means for God, not separate, nor with a life apart from his. His life is manifest in you, who are his son. Each aspect of himself is framed in holiness and perfect purity, in love celestial and so complete it wishes only that it may release all that it looks upon unto itself. And then it goes on. And then the third one is in workbook lesson 265, in the second part of the workbook, which is creation's gentleness is all I see. And I'm just going to read the fourth sentence, which I think is enough context. Today I see the world in the celestial gentleness with which creation shines. So gentleness seems a little bit contrary to the idea of a speed up. And I just think that, the idea of a speed up is, even though Ken may not be addressing it directly here, but I think it's almost like the ego is trying to sneak a little anxiety into the mind by thinking, oh, I got to hurry up, I'm late. One of my recurring nighttime dreams is I've that it surfaces every once in a long while nowadays, is I'm in one of my college classes, and I realize that it's getting toward the end of the semester, that the final exams are the next week, and I haven't done any of the homework, and I haven't done any the lab assignments, or if there was a lab, or and I've skipped most of the classes, and then I realized that I've lost my schedule, and I don't even know where on the campus that the lectures are being given, let alone attending them. And that's, I think, to me, when I look back on those dreams and in a more thoughtful and introspective way, it's like, okay, I've been skipping Holy Spirit's class, to an enormous extent every time I make the dream real and indulge and engage in level confusion. Again, I haven't really harmed the celestial gentleness that's there. But the ego says, "Oh, I got to hurry up and do this stuff." Well, no, it's like it'll be waiting there for me whenever I'm ready. but I think the only thing that the course suggests is that there's the needless suffering of delaying, and I think that's really the only context that it says, it's something about meeting. Uh, I think it's basically I think meeting in, in patience with Holy Spirit's patience with our impatience, meaning it's like, why wait for heaven kind of thing. Here it is. Yeah, this is in chapter 17, section 2, paragraph 8. Um, I think this gives a good context for this. Just it's kind of an aside, but I think it's helpful information. This is paragraph 8, chapter 17, section 2 in the text. How much do you want salvation? It will give you the real world, trembling with readiness to be given you. Well, again, that's meeting us where we think we're at. The real world probably doesn't tremble much, right? It's a metaphor. It's in our mind that we're trembling, right? The eagerness of the Holy Spirit to give you this is so intense. He would not wait, although he waits in patience, meaning how could there be any anxiety or worry or dread about missing a schedule or blowing a final exam or whatever, because our our innocence is already eternally guaranteed. The only thing that really we need to do is to ask ourselves, do I want to see peace instead of this in any given moment, right? So the sentence for us here we go. Meet his patience with your impatience at delay in meeting him. Go out in gladness to meet with your Redeemer and walk with him in trust out of this world and into the real world of beauty and forgiveness. And again, the only time that we really need to practice the course is right now, because that's the only time we have. But if we string a whole bunch of those little now pearls together, we have a beautiful, unbroken chain of forgiveness, right? So, and I think that's what the course is suggesting, rather than the very broken chain of like Bill's, um, you know, getting distracted. I think I'm raising my hand high in in accord with recognizing how I do that. But I think that's what we're all in different ways doing. We're procrastinating only because we think there's still some kind of mileage and some kind of benefit to be gained by our trying to make our dream work for us, and it is an impossible dream and an impossible outcome. We may achieve things in the world, but they're not the peace of God. And I think that's what the course keeps aiming to have us see more and more frequently. And so the more and more frequently, really, maybe there's the celestial speed up. But it's not about changing the world, it's changing my mind, the celestial realm of my mind, if you will, that needs um, focus and attention, and to minimize the mind wandering, to to go slow to go fast. Yeah, slow down
Yeah,
the ego's uh, processes to go faster toward real nature. How's that?
yeah, because there's no reason to speed up to go to someplace you already are.
Yeah, that you got it. Well said.
It's
I
like,
love that. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. You just replace what I just said in the last 3 minutes with what you just did. 3 seconds. Yeah.
well, that's where I got that from. This is listening to you. So
Okay, great, great. All right. Well, should we go on from there?
yeah. Okay, so I'll read on.
Uh-huh.
Also, I was looking in the course for wherever it says speed
Oh,
because
okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
so he says in chapter 16, section 6, and may the holy instant speed you on the way, as it will surely do if you but let it come to you. And of course, in the holy instant, you are there. So that speed is right there. And then chapter 20 says, but let the whiteness of your shining gift of lilies speed him on to his way on his way to resurrection. And then 29, and speed the end of idols in a world made sad and sick by seeing idols there.
Hmm.
And then 30, the speed by which it can be reached depends on this one thing alone, your willingness to practice every step.
Bingo. Bingo.
Bingo,
Yeah.
bingo. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so and there's quite a few places where he talks about speed, but he's really just saying, look at number on text chapter 30, section 5, be speeded on your way by honesty, and let not your experiences here deceive in retrospect. which is basically you forget about the past and be
Yeah.
consistently here
Yeah.
in this
And,
now.
and that consistency is the speed. And it's sort of like in that the seemingly depressing comment in the fifth stage of the development of trust, where it says, this may take a long, long time. Um, one long would have been enough. That would have been enough discouragement. But the two longs is like, but then it says, this would be difficult indeed if each step weren't so heavily reinforced. And the heavy reinforcement is we notice by how we feel. And if we just pay attention consistently, lucidly, to how am I really feeling in each moment? And if I'm not completely at peace, if I'm not experiencing perfect peace, I've chosen the wrong teacher. I mean, that's the only explanation that the course gives for our lack of peace is we've chosen the wrong teacher. And therefore, because we are the rulers of that little switch in the blue dot in Ken's chart, that decision-making faculty in our mind, at any moment, I can choose once again. I can choose again over and over and over again until it becomes habit and second nature. And we're still working on just making it something we do fairly often, let alone second nature. At least I'll speak for myself. So if we can pull that off, and we will, because we'll want to, um, that's it's sort of equivalent to if you only listen to if you're trying to get somewhere and you don't know where the heck you're going when you're relying on the GPS. If you only listen to every 10th instruction that the GPS gives you, you're going to stay pretty lost.
Yes,
But if you
wow.
if you listen to 9 out of 10, you'll probably get there quicker, just by comparison. And if you listen to all of them, you'll get there as the fastest way possible. So, we're leaving the metaphoric desert of the ego's nothingness and returning to the paradise of pure non-duality. And if we want to follow that inner GPS consistently, that's going to be the quickest way to get back to that place of peace that is completely consistent, right?
Exactly. Back to where we belong.
Yeah.
And where we really are. And that's, I mean, the emphasis on the instant is because in this instant, I am here right now. I'm always there. So, there's no horizontal momentum or vertical. There's no momentum at all just to be where you really are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, interesting. Yeah. Uh,
It's just blowing the little veil of dust that we've put there to disguise the blue dot in our mind to convince ourselves the ego that which isn't the problem. It's my decision for the ego that's the problem, and that's at that moment when we realize that's the subtle difference that makes all the difference. It's like it's my choice for the thought system of duality, the thought system of guilt and the sin and fear that bolster it on both sides. Um, that is the problem. But it's not the ego that's the problem. It's my decision to believe in it and wanting to believe in it that's the problem. And once I let go of that, in those moments, I'm free. I've achieved escape velocity from the ego's gravity.
yeah, it's like the Taylor Swift song. It's me. I am the problem. It's me.
I'm gonna have to. Her name has come up, and then we saw her on the Grammys. I'm gonna have to actually find out what she's done musically because I'm sort of semi-ignorant about a lot of pop culture music. So anyway,
She's got some pretty good stuff out there. I
yeah,
really appreciate, it's for I mean she's 32 now, but when she started she was just a kid. And she's made some pretty major movement in the music, but she's a very good person. And that's what a lot of people forget or they don't recognize. They just think she's some kind of a star studded person, but really she's just a good-hearted person who makes music. So you might appreciate her. She's a really sweet kid. Okay, uh, so uh, uh, so we just read this paragraph from Helen
uh-huh.
saying that Jesus thinks it's time for some explanations, which we're probably ready for. There are always risks and speed ups. The whole thing was undertaken because things are getting behind schedule, because so many people persistently lost more than they gained. So she's really, excuse me, It's really talking about, of course, there's no schedule. There's no, we're not waiting for a certain thing to happen, like the second coming or something.
Hmm.
The schedule is now, 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 now. But we can think, which a lot of us do. The world has gotten to a critical point. We're in a crisis now, and every generation has said that. Every generation has said that about what is happening in the world. It couldn't be worse. And yet, continues on with the same stuff because it's the same old story over and over. So anyway, so Ken says, this next entry appeared to be written on the morning of October 21st, the day the course actually began. It too centers on the theme of Helen's willingness to help others as well as her resistance to such extensions of love. Helen, AM, it crossed my mind last night that something very wrong had happened. I got mad because I thought I shouldn't be asked to ask Jesus for you, Bill, and it was a form of exploitation from Bill. That was very dangerous for me and represents an avoidance technique for you. I thought the whole thing was so dangerous that I had to tell you not to do it again. Briefly, it crossed my mind, but with no emotional impact at all, which is always suspicious, that I might just resent asking for someone else because I prefer the quote unquote exclusive idea. So, I think she's saying it because I just like to be just me and Jesus, not you involved. Uh, Christ says, I can tell something is wrong whenever I get a quote, snappy, unquote answer. The tone is wrong. This morning, it was very clear to me that in connection with you, I have not been right since I asked you what you wanted, so I could really be asking for you. This was essential. You have every right. In fact, you should ask me to ask for you. This is not a selfish gift, and it's a real one. And then in parens, she says, this upsets me too, in parens. It has to be used for others and particularly you. So this is Helen kind of scolding herself, and scolding, kind of scolding Bill, but kind of scolding herself, for, her misconception or misperception of what happened.
Hmm.
So Jesus then says to Helen, ask Bill, please, to help you get over being mean about it fast. And then Helen, note, at the moment, I have serious doubts about everything. This is holding everything up. So uh, Ken continues. While recording some of these thoughts on the evening of October 21st, Helen heard the now more or less familiar inner voice begin to give her definite instructions. While quite accustomed by this time, let's see what's going on here. But while quite accustomed by this time to receiving messages, she certainly was not prepared for what the voice said. Helen, incidentally, was well aware again that the voice belonged to Jesus, but she often did her best to keep his identity in the background of her mind. And that's kind of how she is about everything. She doesn't want to identify anybody by name. Uh,
Hmm.
Ken continues, with the beginning of the dictation of A Course in Miracles, however, she could no longer really do this. In her original autobiography, which Helen fully expected at the time would be made public, hence her careful editing, attempting to deny Jesus's identity as the voice. Who he was, however, was obviously apparent to her, as seen in the notes of October 19th and 20th, not to mention the series of letters we have already considered. Helen's words from now to the end of the chapter are thus taken from this edited autobiography. We begin with her observations of the inner voice. And we are at 27, 827. I don't know. Uh, I'll read but we might come back to this
Yeah,
next.
yeah, yeah. Why don't I just read that last paragraph and then we'll
Okay.
close with that. Okay. And then Helen says, I in brackets did not understand the calm but impressive authority with which the voice dictated. It is largely because of the strangely compelling nature of this authority that I immediately refer to the voice with a capital V. The particular combination of certainty, wisdom, gentleness, clarity, and patience that characterized the voice made that form of reference seem perfectly appropriate. And I'll just put a mark there, and we can probably reread that paragraph next week. And as always, Lynn, thank you so much for sharing an hour with me on Saturday mornings. And I'm finding this is always so helpful and such great reminders to look at my own resistance and just and in general look at my contents of my mind. I hope whoever's listening is finding it helpful in that regard too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bruce. And I definitely am finding this helpful and really enjoying this reread of this book, which,
Me
you know, I
too. Me
read
too.
many years ago.
Yep.
And wow, I'm finding out a lot more now because I know more. I understand the course better. And
Yep.
so it's like, wow, 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 wow.
And
Uh,
like Ken says, it we could be reading the phone book, and if we do it with the Holy Spirit, that's that's probably all we need. The form isn't important, but the content is, and the content always being which teacher we're choosing. So anyway,
Absolutely.
so
So,
thank you all, and have a wonderful week, and look forward to the next one.
thank you, Bruce, and blessing you and hoping you're having more fun rock adventures in Arizona.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh, just a quick note. I see Dev's on. I Hi Dev. Hi everyone. I just posted on ACIM blog your wonderful 12 themes and the treasure troves on acimblog.com. So if you want to check that out, that's there. And I put in checked all the links and everything, and there's probably a few more to off things other than the course. But anyway, it's a wonderful collection of quotes. And thanks again, Dev, for sending that. And that's now on acimblog.com. So anyway,
very
thank you very
cool.
much and have a great week.
Thank you so much, Bruce, and